I've come to speak this evening about getting a memorial marker on the City Hall grounds in honor of Lieutenant Junior Grade Francis Gibbs Palmer. He was a naval officer who died during the Korean War at a non-combat incident. He was on an aircraft that tragically crashed about 2 minutes after taking off from Kwajalein Atoll en route to Tokyo, Japan. I was contacted by his grandson, Mr. Tim Sullivan, a few months ago, and I was finally able to meet Mr. Sullivan recently, and he gave me some information. What I have here is what I found on the internet. I won't get into all the details, except that for whatever reason, Lieutenant Palmer was not memorialized on the Korean War monument that's on the City Hall lawn. What we envisioned would be just a small memorial marker, a flat in-the-ground marker, maybe 1 foot by 1.5 feet, nothing big or intrusive, so to speak. And all we're looking for is permission to install it there, and we'd like to have the marker dedicated this coming Memorial Day at the end of May. So it's as simple as that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think what we'll have you do is give your information to the clerk and the manager, and make sure with your phone number so that they can work that out.
Okay.
Okay.
Will do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council liaison updates.
Yes, Councilor Segley.
Yes. I would just like to just mention that, progress is being made on Broadway, and thankfully the weather has cooperated, and the concrete was poured today on some of the 600-foot section of the west side of the sidewalk. I just want to say, as Broadway is taking shape, that there are alternative parking area. There is an alternative parking area right now established at the police station parking lot, and anyone can park there for 2 hours between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., and then there's no time limit after 6 p.m. And the city will be announcing other alternative parking areas in the near future. Also, I wanted to mention tonight we'll be appointing members to the Historic Cemetery Commission. I've worked with the city, and in particular with Lou Keene, to get this group up and running, and I'm excited to see the commission reinvigorated. One of the things I wanted to mention is that there are 2 groups that are now active in preserving the cemeteries. There's the Friends of the Island Cemetery, and then there will be the Cemetery Commission. These groups are going to be holding tours on Saturday. The first one is at 1 o'clock in the Common Burial Ground, and the second one will be at in the Friends, the Island Cemetery at 2:30, and also Belmont Chapel. So if anyone is interested in checking out these cemeteries, please do on Saturday at 1 and at 2:30. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other updates? Okay. First order of business, please.
The consent calendar.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exception of item B16.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a special event license, Water Brothers DBA Surf Fest 4.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to withdraw this request at the request of the promoter.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for a new vittling license, Binge Barbecue LLC, DBA Binge Barbecue 12 Broadway.
Yes, this is a new VIT license for Binge. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
2016 Sidewalk Cafe renewals.
Yes, this is Sidewalk Cafe renewals. I make a motion to continue item F, Fifth Element at 10711, and take up this issue at our April 27th meeting, when we're also hearing their liquor license.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would just like clarification as why we're pulling that one as opposed as the only one.
Okay.
They have a new plan.
why we're pulling I believe there were extensive changes.
Yes.
Maybe the clerk can.
They have proposed to change the layout and plan of their sidewalk cafe.
So just to be clear, all the other applications have not made any changes?
That is
So only
correct.
Fifth Element? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now, the other items, the other sidewalk cafes, our understanding is that all of them who have applied is for just what they had last year, correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
I make a motion to approve the sidewalk cafe renewals for Bora Noodle Bar, 36 Broadway, Stone Soup, 162 Broadway, Newport Bubble Tea, 22 Broadway, Empire Tea, 112 William Street, Fastnet, 13 Broadway, Monkey Business, 124 Broadway, Jimmy Saloon, 37 Memorial, Malt, 150, 154 Broadway, Panera Bread, Long Wharf Mall, Bouchard's Restaurant, 505 to 509 Thames Street, Scratch, 88 Broadway, Tea and Javas at 282 Thames Street, Washington Square Cafe, Washington Square, 22 Washington Square. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes, Newport Hospitality Commission, I make a motion to approve the application of Anne Dubois Jocelyn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Historic Cemetery Advisory Commission, there are 7 vacancies. I make a motion to appoint Carl Bork, Louis Keene, Ingrid Peters, Jean Quinn, Teresa Stokes, and Mary Jo Valdez.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution supporting 2016 Senate Bill S2686.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been asked to introduce this. Currently, the 1% meal and beverage tax, which comes to the city of Newport, is only levied on certain eating and drinking establishments, bars, taverns, lounges, cafeterias, etc., but it doesn't apply to convenience stores, and the council has discussed at a workshop earlier this year that would be a good thing to do, and so this resolution calls upon the General Assembly to consider passage of Senate Bill 2886, which was introduced on the 8th of March and referred to the Senate Finance Committee, which would make convenience stores subject to the meal and beverage tax. I move adoption.
Second.
There's a motion second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution requesting the Rhode Island General Assembly to amend Rhode Island General Law 4418-18.1.
Councilor Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whereas the city established a restricted infrastructure fund for the proposed fiscal year 2017 operating budget to fund sewer system and roadway repairs with an initial funding of $200,000 from our current meals and beverage tax funds. We would also like to petition the General Assembly at this time to amend Rhode Island General Laws 44-18-18.1 in order to authorize the city of Newport by ordinance to assess an additional 1% meal and beverage tax with those funds dedicated to support sewer system and roadway infrastructure repairs. Madam Chair, this resolution recognizes that a lot of the wear and tear and a lot of our build-out and infrastructure is there because of the millions of tourists that we get every year. And it's necessary that we upgrade and improve the infrastructures as we have them right now. So I would urge my fellow councilors to support passage of this resolution.
Second.
There's a motion, second, discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor McLaughlin.
just for the purpose of bringing the information out to the public at this point in time, I think the administration has provided to us a number, but how much does 1%? 800,000. 800,000. So this could potentially bring to the city of Newport $800,000. And this is a question you may not know the answer to, but if we were to apply all of that to the sewer system, what would be, it would be a substantial impact on reducing the sewer rate, or at least controlling the expansion of that as we move forward.
That's correct.
This could be really important to the city of Newport.
Exceedingly important. Would have an effect, the equivalent effect, I think, of approximately 60 cents on the sewer rate, if I recall the numbers, because we ran some numbers. So it's significant,
And that
absolutely
would-
significant.
Right, and that would be good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution supporting House Bill H7243 and Senate Bill S2761.
Yes, this resolution, it was brought to our attention that current state law allows a concealed carry permit to carry firearms onto school grounds. And they also recognize that the vast majority of states do not permit firearms on school grounds unless it's law enforcement. The Rhode Island General Assembly bills, the House Bill 7243 and the Senate Bill 2761, support proposals that would disallow non-law enforcement personnel to carry concealed firearms onto school grounds. There was a 2-year study done and consisting of school administrators, teachers, law enforcement, psychiatrists, lawmakers, and legal professionals. And their findings stated that they specifically did not include the use of firearms or the arming of teachers or non-law enforcement civilians in the schools. This is also supported by the League of Cities and Towns, the Rhode Island School Committee Executive Board, and the Rhode Island Superintendents Association. Also last night, our Newport School Committee approved this resolution, and we're asking that a copy of this resolution be sent by the city clerk to our state delegation and to all the cities and towns in the state of Rhode Island. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Yes, discussion. Councilor Flores.
There's a perception out there that having guns makes us safer. But the reality, and there's an abundance of evidence that shows that it's quite the contrary. Gun death rates are 7 times higher in states that have legal gun ownership, the highest gun ownership, versus states that have the least gun ownership. In the U.S. alone, for example, nearly 75% of all children murdered in the developed world are here in the U.S., and that's children between the ages of 5 and 14. And also, it's been widely proven with an abundance of evidence that if you have a gun in your home, you are far more likely to be a victim of a fatality or a severe injury because of the gun. So I'm very eager to support this, and I hope my fellow councilors do the same.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor.
I look at this differently, and I look at it as the right to have a gun and bear arms is something that we are allowed with the American Constitution. I have concealed carry permits in 3 states, and I'm not saying that guns should be allowed on school premises, but one thing that bothered me about this is that retired police officers are allowed, and no one else seems to be here. And in terms of comparisons, and I read in the Projo that was because what Counselor Segley and I were saying, that that's what hung up the law before, because retired policemen were allowed to, would be allowed to carry guns on school property. In terms of my personal views, I have to say I'm kind of torn, because I don't think that, and I could be shown differently, that people who carry concealed weapons have been shown in this country, at least never in Rhode Island, to have caused the mass murders that we've read about. And I think a lot of it's connected to mental illness rather than the ability to carry a gun. So I have to say that when this came up, I looked at it and I'm balancing it out in my head as to why there would be some preferred group that could do it and not anybody else. But on the same token, I'm concerned about children, I'm concerned about schools and what happens in schools. I worked in a Connecticut school system for over 25 years, and I can tell you I saw kids murdered more often than I'd like to say, mainly because it was a gang type of community. So this is one thing that I look at personally as a thing I have to balance in my head.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Okay, Madam Chair, as you know, we went back and forth on this, and at first I was very resistant, but ended up actually, co-signing on to this. Basically because of, after further review of the CCP laws in Rhode Island, I'm actually now convinced that the civilian concealed carry permits are not adequate in close quarters active shooter situations, and I'd actually refer to Rhode Island Law 1147-15. And I'll paraphrase here. There is proof of ability required for license or permit. Now this applies to a civilian carry, and it says, quote, "No person shall be issued a license or permit to carry a pistol or revolver concealed upon his or her person until he or she has presented certification as prescribed in 1147-16 that he or she has qualified with a pistol or revolver of a caliber equal to or larger than one he or she intends to carry. That qualification to consist of firing a score of 195 or better out of a possible score of 300 with 30 consecutive rounds at a distance of 25 yards on the Army L target, firing slow fire. Slow fire course shall allow 10 minutes for the firing of each 3 10-shot strings." Chapter 1147 also goes on to 1147-15-1, 1147-15-2, and 1147-15-3. These are qualifications required for law enforcement officers appointed after June 6th of 1970, and they are by far more detailed and more adequate than what we allow for a civilian CCP. I'll give you examples here. All law enforcement officers in this state and its political subdivisions whose permanent appointment shall take place after June 6, 1970, shall qualify in the National Rifle Association B-21 police combat target firing at a score of 165 or better out of a possible score of 250 with 50 rounds in a distance, time period, and position required of the course. It goes on to say, point 1, Stage A, 7 yards, 10 shots, crouch position, time 25 seconds. Number 2, Stage B, 12 yards, 5 shots, point shoulder left hand, 5 shots, point shoulder right hand, both unsupported, 5 shots kneeling, 75 seconds. 21 yards, 5 shots, point shoulder left and supported, 5 shots, point shoulder right hand. And it goes on and on and on. And I encourage anyone to actually read through all of Chapter 1147. But it does bring up a valid point here, too, that, our police officers have to fire and decision shooting, reduce light shooting, moving targets, use of cover, non-dominant hand shooting, alternate position shooting, reloading drills, malfunction drills, and so on and so forth. Again, while 1147-15 is more than adequate for personal defense, it cannot replace, nor does it compare to 15.1, 15.2, and 15.3 for police officers. I even looked at the Vermont ordinances, and what they have up there. And Vermont's a constitutional carry state. And for anybody who doesn't understand what a constitutional carry state, it means that unless you're prohibited by law to own a firearm, you can carry a firearm no matter what. You don't have to go through any kind of special permitting processes to do that. But I also found that even in a state as permissive as Vermont, civilian carry in schools and courthouses and buses aren't authorized, not even in Vermont. So we need to be honest with ourselves and say that parents and teachers are not properly trained in public safety, and they're certainly not deputized police officers. Therefore, this is a reasonable restriction in my mind. I'd also like to be clear, because I am pro-Second Amendment, I am pro-Article 1, Section 22 of the state constitution, that the State House and the AG's office, in my opinion, plays fast and loose with the federal and state constitutional rights that we have. Again, Article 1, Section 22 of the state's constitution says simply, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The AG goes on, or the AG's office, when filing for a concealed carry, states that, quote, we need to demonstrate a proper showing of need to bear those arms in our state. The AG decides whether I need or you need to exercise a right guaranteed by the Constitution. To what other rights of the people does that also apply? And I'd ask any one of you. Does it apply to speech? I mean, demonstrate to me, the AG, why you feel the need to speak. Religion, demonstrate to me, the AG, why you feel the need to go to church. Press, demonstrate to me, the AG, why you need to run that story in the newspaper. Vote, demonstrate to me, the AG, why you need to vote. However, we as a common sense society also understand that these aren't absolutes, nor should they be. You can't yell fire in a theater. You can't stuff a ballot box. You can't sacrifice virgins in volcanoes on some odd religion, little humor there, but I mean, let's be honest, you can't do that. And you can't print libelous stories without there being legal consequences in the paper. You can set reasonable restrictions, and this restriction is no different, Madam Chair, and I encourage its passage. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. I
Madam
just
Chair?
want, yes, go ahead.
Maybe the argument's the wrong argument. We shouldn't be arguing about why people should be able to bring guns in schools. We should be arguing about what's the good of having guns in schools. There is no good. We don't need guns in school. We need education. You know, part of this is, do parents who are going to basketball games get to bring in their weapons? The bottom line is, schools should be gun-free zones, unless there's a public safety officer who has to be there for the purpose of the public safety. It's as simple as that.
Thank you.
Should we hear
I'm-
from the, should we hear from the public?
We will. I'm going to speak first. I'm glad my vice chair is supportive of this issue. That was quite a dissertation. Mine's a little simpler, my thought process. First of all, this does not address in any way, shape, or form the ability to apply for a concealed permit. So, having said that, what they're looking at is guns in school. We're one of, I think, 2 states in the whole union that don't have some sort of legislation to keep the guns from school, except for law enforcement officers. If you can't have it in a courthouse, and there's a lot of government buildings that they put you through a metal detector, you can't bring a gun in, and they supposedly don't let you have it over on the Navy base. Why in God's name would we ever allow it in our schools with our youngsters? I am very supportive of this measure. I think it's one of the common sense ones. Certainly there's a constitutional right in our state to apply for that license. I recognize that. But I also feel that in places such as schools, we have a responsibility to our children, and the council has a responsibility to our children. And I know we got hundreds of letters, everybody did, and it was the same letter, and it was quite long. And when I inquired in the other communities, I actually had council members say to me, "Oh, that's the school department's problem." No, it's not. In Newport, it is everybody's problem. They're all our kids. So I will be supporting this measure. Certainly, if there's anyone from the public, and I'm going to preface it this way, if you are a resident of Newport, because out of the hundreds of letters we got, only 4 residents from Newport asked us to oppose this measure. So if there is a resident from Newport that would like to address this issue, please come forward. And your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
David Eichland from 35 Wellington Avenue in Newport. Thank you for letting me speak.
You got to speak into the mic, David.
I think I am, but it's
Yeah,
too
I
low,
know.
or-
Sometimes you're